Okay, guys, it's T-Dog Specialty Shop. Uh, what we got going on here is I got a Solo model number 603. Show you guys. 603. What happened was I got this saw fairly cheap. Didn't run. It was actually locked up. Ended up freeing the crank up. The bearings ended up being all right. They was just pretty tight. Ended up cleaning up some parts and putting it back together, cleaning up the cylinder, piston, rings. Everything looked good. Threw the cylinder back on, cleaned the carburetor, and actually got it running. It did seem a little, it was a little off. I actually ended up putting a carb rebuild kit in today. So what I want to talk about is air leaks. Air leaks can make a saw run lean. And that goes back to me talking about the chain being tight. Wearing out the bearings, also wearing out the seals. These are the seals off of the 603 here. They don't seem like they look bad, but they're fairly aged. They do fit on kind of sloppy. I think seals should be tight. But so I figure after I got this thing, I ran it. I cut some wood, ran fine. Well, then the other day I went to get it out. I barred it up, put a 20-inch bar on it, cut some firewood to test it out, actually see what it'll do with a 20-inch bar. And the thing had a high idle bog on it. It seemed like a lean bog. And I started checking it out, and then eventually it ended up not wanting to rev at all. So I brought it in the shop, debarred it, pulled the carburetor apart, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And then I would put it back together, chasing air leaks. And by the way, Gumout works fairly well with finding air leaks near the intake area or around the seals, the main seal areas, because it'll shut the saw right off. An engine won't run on Gumout like everybody thinks that it does, but it won't run. But anyhow, so I was chasing air leaks, and it seemed like everything looked fine. And I would spray up in this area, but what I think it was doing was the Gumout would go in and then kind of work its way around the carburetor into the intake, and would shut the engine off that way. So then I started using soapy water, which I have a bottle over right here, and it didn't seem like I was throwing bubbles out. Well, then just right now, this side right here was showing some bubbles, and I'm like, oh, right there. And so yeah, today I put the carb rebuild kit in, which is in a Solo. If you have Solos, that rebuild kit is Walbro part number D10WJ. That kind of ripped the plastic right there. That's the rebuild kit for just the gaskets. I do not know what the part number is for the total rebuild kit. But that being said, I'm going to show you what to do as far as finding air leaks, and most of the time they happen in the seal area. So what you need to do is, if your saw seems like it has a bog to it, like as soon as you get on the gas, after you warm it up, of course, as soon as you get on the gas, it bogs. And sometimes uh, it will bog and then go up. That's your carburetor um, kind of compensating for the lean mixture because the engine's sucking air in. Whereas you're going to be burning more. You know, you're putting more air into the engine more than the fuel end of it. Um, so what you need to do is you take your clutch cover off, like I did here, and take your starter cover off. Take the flywheel off. Uh, this has seal holders, um, which means the seals actually get pressed into there, and then this gets screwed into there like that. I already have the screws in. Same thing with on the other side, but it's the oil pump for the bar. Uh, so picture these of being on the saw. You take your soapy water, which dish detergent water works. You can use Buster. Buster's for those you don't know, Pennsylvania, Western PA. Buster is a like a high concentrate cleaner made in Western PA. You can use that. You can use Mean Green. You can use Simple Green. Anything with a detergent that works. That'll show bubbles. Dawn soap and water. You spray that in this area, and I'm not going to do it with that bearing being there. You spray that in this area, and then you want to leave like the clutch and the clutch side on altogether. Actually, just take this and screw it on. That way, you have a handle to rotate the engine, and you want to be able. You want to be able to go through a full cycle, and actually if you have an air leak, you'll see bubbles popping in out of here. Now this also has a rubber O-ring seal around this, so it seals this in, which bosses into here. And you want to be able to spray around that too, because this could leak and also show an air leak in this engine. The clutch side's set up the same way. I'm just going to show you the flywheel side. If you do show an air leak on this side, which most of the time it's on the clutch side because, like I said, I hate to sound like a broken record, super tight chain all the time. Pop that seal out, and I have to get the seals for this yet. But the seals for this one are 17 by 28 by 5. You just throw new seals on it and throw that together. Now, also another way of telling an air leak is before you end up tearing this thing down, make sure that there's something that like your spray, like your carb cleaner or something ain't gonna go around. Like say this air filter will do the job. You can also take your gum out with the straw or any kind of carb cleaner and spray in this area. And this has the intake block. It don't have a boot. Spray in this area, and if the engine, the saw starts to slow in RPM or shut down, then there's where your air leak is. In your intake block, and obviously I would do that with an air filter on, and then I would also use a straw because it'll find its way into the intake and shut down the saw that way, in through the air or in through the front of the carburetor. But and a lot of the times I need to get a new compression release, but this will do it too. This will show an air leak. I do not like these spring-loaded compression releases because when you got a high compression engine, um, that piston is actually sucking this thing down and putting more air into the cylinder. Like a supercharger, pretty much. I'm probably going to end up putting a block off on this because I could start this thing. This is a very, very high compression engine. I could start this thing without the compression release. It's not bad, but also a lot of people were saying that that compression release will also, with that down force of that piston going down, you can also break these compression releases and suck the plunger down in and beat the top of the piston up and blow your engine that way. But it's ways of chasing air leaks. Instead of going straight forward to the carburetor and rebuilding it, I wanted to rebuild the carburetor anyhow because it's probably all factory gaskets in there, old factory gaskets. But it's got a fresh carburetor, fresh intake gaskets, intake block gaskets. Carburetor's clean. Just this is it can get kind of hard chasing air leaks if you don't have the right tools, but that's one of the reasons why. And also tuning the carburetor, and I've had this issue before. If you can't get this saw to run right just by tuning it, then this is where your problem is an air leak in the crankcase or in your intake. I've had an issue with a steel. It would not tune for crap, and it just dawned on me, oh boy, I wonder if I have an air leak. Well, I tore the flywheel cover or the starter cover off, the clutch side cover off, pulled the oil pump, pulled the flywheel. Now, it was actually a clamshell saw. It was a steel MS390, and the way that those seals go in is the whole cylinder is bolted in. It actually extends down to here, and the base of the cylinder gets bolted up from underneath the saw, and it kind of clamshells the bearings, the seals together, and your crankshaft. And truthfully, I don't like clamshell saws, but and not a lot of people do either. They're more or less throwaway saws. But sure as hell, I sprayed the seals on both sides, and it showed an air leak. Ordered seals. I replaced the plastic raced bearings in it. Put it all back together. It tuned right up. It was a little bit of a hotter saw than a stock MS390, but I ended up selling that. I do like these saws with the actual crankcase, the cylinder bolts on top. That's in my opinion, that's the only way to go. You're getting a more high performance saw, but I just figure I'd shoot a video of what to do as far as if your saw won't tune perfectly, or not perfectly, if it won't tune at all. Show you how to find air leaks, because majority of the time that's where it's going to be, is an air leak at the crank seal or on your intake. Just different ways of finding leaks. Air leaks is a big thing. You can blow a saw up too with an air leak. Like I said, going back, sound like a broken record. Going back to tightening the chain too tight. That's you could blow a saw up because it's running too lean. You're running too hot. Other than that, this is my Big Bore Solo 603. It's 103 cc's, capable up to a 42-inch bar. Rim sprocket style. Stock, it's factory. There's nothing really, no porting done to it. Runs good when it runs. It's a very powerful saw. I put this in the category of like the 3120s and the 088 stills. Other than that, thanks for watching. Subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down, and have a good day.